don't talk about it. Welcome to Change the Conversation with the Hopefulist. My name is Wendy McClure, and it's time we had a conversation about living in a patriarchy and how that affects our lives. Together, we can make a difference and change the conversation. Hello, and welcome back to Change the Conversation. I appreciate you being here fresh off my trek to Washington, D.C. to march in front of the Supreme Court as they listen to arguments about the abortion pill, mifepristone, as they are seems to be that they're going to be making a decision that the case has no standing, that the FDA approval is intact, that there is no reason to change the FDA approval. What we do have to still worry about is this Comstock Act, which was put into place to stop obscenities from being put in the mail. How medication is considered an obscenity is beyond me. I don't understand how they can consider that an obscenity, but they are. So that's going to be our next mountain to climb, is to keep very vigilant about that case, where it's at, where they're leaning, and be ready to take action for when they make a decision that we do not agree with. So I love going to these marches and these protests. And the reason that I love them so much is because I actually feel like I'm doing something. And I am doing something, each and every day, my small part of trying to raise awareness and get the information out and do what I can. But when I'm there with thousands of other people, it just makes me feel very worthy of the cause. It makes me feel like I'm really helping to do something, to change something that is egregiously wrong. Because that's what this is. Trying to control women's reproductive health is egregiously wrong. And I wish more women could step up and just march. Just hold a sign up and walk wherever you can find a march. You don't have to go to D.C. You can find one that's around here or around where you live, but you have to pay attention, and you need to be aware of when these things are taking place so that you can plan to be there. It's very empowering to be at these events, to realize that you have a voice and you can use it, even though we've been told to sit down and shut up our whole lives. We don't have to listen to that. We never had to listen to that, but we were too afraid. No longer. So on to today's topic. How different do you think life would be or would have been if we didn't have to act like we never had our period? And you know what I mean? Like from the time that you're in school and you're getting your period, we have to make sure that there are no signs of anything. Like say you get your period on a day in school that you didn't expect it. So then you have spotting on the back of your pants. Well, you're horrified. You're humiliated. You're just, completely outraged, and you feel like a fool because now everybody knows that you have your period. And what I want to really delve into is, so what? So what if everybody knows that you have your period? Why is this such a humiliating thing? Why are women taught to be humiliated if they have some leakage that ends up on their outside clothes? Which, as a woman who had her period for over 40 years, I can tell you, happened a lot. Out of the 40 years, I couldn't take a guess to how many times it happened, but I would say at least a couple of times a year that would happen. Sometimes I'd be in public, sometimes I wouldn't. Sometimes I was able to, wrap a sweatshirt around my waist and hide it. Other times I had I remember one time being in high school, I called my stepfather to bring me a pair of pants so that I could change. These things happen. Why are women being shamed for it? Because we're not shamed for urination. We're not shamed for defecation, because those are things that men do. So they're okay. I mean, obviously you have to do them in the proper place. But women are walking around all day, every day, doing everything that they do on any other day when they have their periods. And that in itself is a completely different topic and discussion, that women are just expected to continue on in life as if they're not having blood gushing out of them at times, that they don't have debilitating cramps that are, really messing with their energy, that our hormones aren't all over the place, and maybe we're not as productive as we could be at a different time in our cycle. That's a whole different topic. Let's just talk about the fact that not only is it this humiliating thing that if, God forbid, something shows up on the outside of your pants or your skirt, then you're humiliated. It's something we've been dealing with for our whole lives. And it shouldn't be. Why should we be ashamed of a natural bodily function? But we're trained to feel this way. And this is what I'm hoping to get away from. I remember seeing, I don't remember if it was like an advertisement or an article. It was probably an article. But the picture on the front page of the article was of a woman laying in bed. And it was a picture from behind, and she didn't have any clothes on. And there was blood on the sheets. Now, my first reaction to that was like, whoa, TMI, I don't need to see that. I don't need to see that. And you know what that is? That is internalized misogyny. I am taking the society that I grew up in, the patriarchal society that I grew up in, and they have won me over to the, I don't want to hear it, I don't want to see it, I don't want to talk about it. But it's perfectly natural. It's what happens. We all know that. We've all had a little incident that's gotten onto our sheets before. This is real life. But for some reason, we are not allowed to talk about it. We are shamed for just the fact that it happens to us. So much so that they want to start this shaming as early as possible. There was a bill that was introduced about a year ago in Florida that in schools, girls were not allowed to talk to their teachers or people in the school, adults in the school, about their periods until 6th grade. Which is a little ludicrous because most girls get their periods. Not most girls, but, a good majority of girls get their periods before 6th grade. Girls can get their periods anywhere between like 8 and 14. I think 10 is when it really starts to ramp up, that these girls get that. And you are in 5th grade when you are 10 years old. But why? Why can't we talk about it? That's what I would like to know. What is the purpose of banning talk about a natural occurrence in a woman's body? I can tell you what the purpose is. It's to start shaming girls right off the bat, to other them, to make them feel different, to make them feel like something is happening in their body that they need to be ashamed of. That's what this bill is all about. Now, I've done some research. I haven't seen if this bill has gone anywhere. I haven't seen anything as of late of what's happening with this bill. So I don't know if it was voted down, if it's on hold, what the deal is. I haven't seen anything since March of 2023. So I don't know if this bill is going to go through or not, but just the fact that they're trying to do this, again, what is the rational reason for that? Not only is it going to put young girls experiencing their period, many times their very first period, without having any help, anybody to ask, what's going on, what's happening? But why would we do that? Why would we put young girls in that position? It's all about creating shame. They want to create shame in these young girls right off the bat. And women, we know that doesn't get much better as we get older. We don't want to talk about it with other people in our lives. You know, when you're young and you're first waiting to get it and you're excited, you know, and, you know, we were so stupid. We were like, I can't wait to get my period. I'm going to be a woman. Oh, we were so dumb. But now I'm on the other side of it, at the menopause side, where I don't get it anymore, which is a huge relief. But with that comes other new things that we didn't deal with before. Yeah, you know, the hot flashes and the moodiness and all of that kind of stuff. It's just never ending when you're a woman. You're always going through all different things because your hormones are always different. Men's, not so much. So we're not even allowed to talk to it, you know, other than when we're young. We don't really talk about it with each other much. Not much. You know, we'll talk about, oh, yeah, I've got my period. But we don't talk about what we go through. Not to a big extent. And God forbid we do not bring it up around men. We have to pretend like it's non-existent. We are not going to put them in a position to make them feel uncomfortable, to talk about something that they don't want to know about, to talk about something that they would rather pretend doesn't exist. So since they would rather pretend it doesn't exist, we have to pretend it doesn't exist. Thus, we never talk about it. We never talk about it at work. We never bring up in the meeting, I'm sorry, you know, I'm on my period and I'm feeling a little low energy right now. We would have no issue saying, I got no sleep last night because the baby had me up. We would have no problem saying that. That's why my energy is low today. But we would be horrified to say, I'm sorry, I have my period. I'm feeling very low energy right now. Not only would we humiliate ourselves by saying that, then they would just be able to just discount us. Well, women can't, they can't be high energy all the time, so they're obviously useless. You know, we're damned if we do, we're damned if we don't. This is the way society's been set up, so that we are damned if we do and damned if we don't. So if we continue to not talk about it because we don't want to be judged, then it's always going to be taboo. It's always going to be something that we can't talk about. So, the thing that's so interesting to me is men have no problem talking about the things that make them uncomfortable. We all know how men feel about getting, kicked in a certain area, or, I play pickleball a lot, and I often hear men on the court be like, whoa, that got a little close to, the area. They're, just yelling out loud and proud. They don't care. They want everyone to know, don't go near that area. Stay away. But if we dare to bring up something like our period, it's like, whoa, no. And let's talk about the hernia test. I asked my husband about this. I'm like, what exactly does it entail? He goes, it entails cupping. Really, that's it. They just touch it. It doesn't even hurt. Well, I've heard so much about this hernia test that I thought that they were like going through pain and it was extreme and all this. There's not even pain involved. And they make the biggest deal out of this hernia test because you don't want to be touched. Guess what? Neither do women. But yet we have something that's cold, hard, and metal inserted inside of us, and our breast completely examined from inside out at least once a year. Yeah. But we're not allowed to complain about that. Again, that's something that we're shameful about. That's something that we somehow in society has deemed humiliating for women. The fact that we have to go to a doctor and have these instruments inserted into us in order to make sure that we're healthy. We can't talk about it. Men can talk about the hernia test all they want because if they're unhappy with it, they don't like it. But when women don't like something, shh, stop. You don't need to talk about that. Men don't want to hear about that. Don't put them through it. So we have to go through it silently. We have to go through it and come home and just act like it was the best day in the world. Making dinner for my man and getting the kids ready. You know, I just had my mammogram last week. 3 pictures they need to take of each breast. 3 pictures. So that means my boob was squished 3 times on each side. That is 6 squishes that are painful. And I don't know why we can't come home and say, I'm a little in a mood today because you know what? My boobs were squished and I didn't like it. But no, we're not allowed to do that. Only men are allowed to do that. Men want to pretend that we don't have any issues at all. Anything that they don't find appealing, anything that could potentially embarrass or make them uncomfortable, we just have to pretend like it doesn't exist. You know, women all know what is involved in the hernia test to an extent. I mean, I knew what area they needed to focus on. I didn't know exactly what they did until I asked my husband. But it's very well known. But I bet you that the majority of men in your life don't even know what a pap smear is. I bet you they don't. Because they don't care. They don't care. Now, my brother, when I was younger, I was in my 20s, so it was quite a while ago, he did know what a pap smear was. And the reason that I know that he knew that is because I had said to him one time, yeah, I got an abnormal pap smear, so I have to go back, and I'm alone. He's like, whoa, 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 I don't want to hear about that. Yeah, I want to hear about, oh, I'm sorry, your sister might have cancer and die. You don't want to hear about it? Sorry, I made you uncomfortable. Seriously, this is what they're doing to us. It was fine. I didn't have cancer. But speaking of which, if you've ever had, I don't remember the technical term that they use for it, but an ablation? No, that's something different. They went in with an instrument. Remember, again, with the speculum already. Insert the cold metal hard thing, spread everything open. And then they went in with something like, little pinchers. And they wanted to take a piece of the lining of my uterine wall. And all they wanted to do was grab that piece and tear it off. And that was what they were going to test to see if it was cancerous. Now, since we're on the topic, there is this theory in medicine that the lining of the uterine wall has no nerve endings and no sensations. There has been this theory for decades and decades that women will just feel a pinch, that we'll just feel the actual, plucking of the piece that they're taking, and it's not actually painful. Yeah, it is. And this has been proven over and over and over again. And have they changed it? Have they given us anything to reduce or manage the pain that's involved? No, they just expect us to endure. I guess because we've had to endure for all that time, they figure, well, they can handle it. But men, on the other hand, they just touch the area. It's not even painful. And they're like, oh, I got to get my hernia test. Oh, get my hernia test. Oh, my God, oh, my God, oh, my God. But women are constantly being put through painful remedies, painful tests, all kinds of things without anything, with nothing to calm us down, with nothing to control our pain. And it's because we don't talk about it. That is one of the main reasons. The men in our lives don't even want to hear about it. Oh, I don't want to hear about that. Ugh. I don't want to hear about it. So, unfortunately, we have to be the ones to normalize this conversation. We have to be the ones to talk about women's health, what we have to go through in order to make sure we are healthy. So they don't want to hear about the tests. Do they care if we're sick? Do they care if we have a disease? Would they rather us not go through the tests so that they don't have to potentially hear about it? Or are we just supposed to suffer in silence like we have been for decades and centuries? I'm sure it's the latter is what they would prefer. But it's time to start talking about this stuff, ladies. To start to talk about that. We want to talk about our periods. We want to talk about testing like it's a normal, everyday conversation. Like I said, you would have no problem saying in a meeting, I'm sorry, I don't have a lot of energy today. I didn't sleep last night. Hey, my period. I'm on my period. I have really bad cramps. I'm sorry. Again, though, that's the double-edged sword, that one. So, I'm not sure if you should be doing that in a meeting because then they're just going to discredit you. But, there are times that you get up to go to another place in your office and you're actually gushing. And we're trained to cringe at that, to wince at that, just the term gushing. And they got me in it as well. I'm still uncomfortable saying that. But it's the truth. And it's a normal, natural bodily function that happens to every woman, almost every woman on the planet, unless they have some sort of issue. So why is this so cringy? Why is it cringy to talk about our periods? Why is it cringy to talk about the health tests that we have to go through every single year? Why is this such a taboo topic? That's what I would love to know. So we have to be the ones to have these uncomfortable conversations. We have to start them. It will be uncomfortable, yes. You will be told, hey, TMI, but it is still necessary. We have to be the ones to start this conversation, to make it more normalized so that people don't cringe when they hear the word. Now, girls and women are taught and conditioned to never bring up things that will make a man uncomfortable. It's why we're encouraged to be sugar and spice and polite. We're told to blend in and to not make a fuss, to get over things. Just keep going. Keep the peace. Everyone's peace except your own, that is. Be small. Don't bother people. Never speak about things that people don't want to talk about. Don't talk about our bodies. Don't talk about problems in our relationships or how we really feel about things. Nobody wants to hear it. Our spouses don't want to hear it. They've been brought up to believe, like we've been brought up to believe, that they don't have to listen to things that make them uncomfortable. They can just say, no, that's a woman thing. I don't really want to talk about that. But again, they can talk about how distasteful the hernia test is for them. We all know it. We all know it. And God forbid they do get, a pickleball in a certain place. We're all going to hear about that too. We're all going to see the drama and, the pain and the wincing and the, oh my God. Yeah, it's totally okay for them to do that, but we can't talk about anything. So we have to be the ones to end the shame. Stop being ashamed of having a period. It's nothing to be ashamed of. Stop being ashamed that we have to go do these types of exams. Start talking about the fact that maybe we don't think it's comfortable. Maybe we're not in the greatest mood right now because we had somebody poking and prodding us. Maybe we're a little under the weather because we had somebody pulling pieces of flesh out of our uterine wall and told it's just going to be a pinch. And you're walking around like you were just violated because you were. We have to be the ones to do it. So with that, I wanted to give you a little bit of an acronym to kind of follow. So when you're gearing yourself up to do things like this, when you're trying to maybe shed some of your own internalized misogyny, and we all have it. I'm working diligently to rid myself of it, but it's still there. I was in the hospital with my husband a weekend or so ago, and the doctor had said, so what's the name of the doctor that you go to for your sleep issues? She says, looking at me. The female doctor was looking at me when she said, what's the name of the sleep doctor you go to? And I just pointed at him. And because she's been conditioned that men don't even know the names of their own doctors, to look right to the woman because she was the one that was going to have the name. Now, I didn't have the name in my instance, mostly because he doesn't have one, because he stopped going to the sleep doctor 8 years ago and hasn't been back. And that's something that he needs to get right. And I'm not going to take responsibility for the fact that he hasn't gone to the sleep doctor in 8 years. That's on him. So we need to get loud about this stuff. We need to stop being small, being told we need to be small. We need to get loud. So with that in mind, I want you to keep in mind this acronym for loud. I want you to let it out. That is the L. Let it out. We need to talk about this stuff. All of this stuff that's been deemed uncomfortable and shameful, it is not shameful. And the only reason that it's still uncomfortable is because nobody will talk about it. So let's be the ones to do it. L-O in loud. Openly explain what you're feeling and going through. It is all right to be in a mood when somebody is shoving something down your cervix. It's okay. It's perfectly reasonable to not want that to happen and to want to vent about it, to not be in the best mood that day. We need to talk about our health and the things that we go through in order to stay healthy or to test if we are healthy and make it part of normal conversation. So we've got the L, let it out. O, openly explain. U, understand. People will push back. You will have to accept that fact that people will say things to you like TMI, I'm not comfortable with this conversation. I don't really want to hear about it. Too bad. If you're going to talk about what you had for dinner last night, I'm going to talk about how I had cramps so bad I had to just lay in the bathtub and not move for about an hour. Yeah. It's not hurting them. If they're uncomfortable, they can get up and leave. But it's not actually doing something that hurts them. So be prepared. You will get pushback, and you have to be okay with that. And finally, D in the loud, L-O-U-D, decide to be brave and use your voice to make things better for all women. Because until women can start talking about these things, there will always be shame associated with it. So let's think about our sisters of the future and make things better for them. Like our ancestors fought so hard for women's rights, for us to be able to have our own bank accounts, our own credit cards, to buy property, to have the right to an abortion, one that's now taken away. And there are more on the chopping block. This is just the beginning of their fight. So be brave. I know it can be tough. I know it can be scary. But you know what? Once you do it, it is so freaking empowering that you can stand up and say what you feel and be okay. Because you will be okay. So I want everybody to get loud. Get loud. And do me a favor. Hop on over to Hopefulist.com. check out my website. And if you haven't thus far left a review for me on the platform that you are listening from, be it Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, please go in and leave me a review, 5-star review, of course. I would be greatly appreciative if you did that. So please remember, get loud and then go on out there and be badass. I'm cheering you on. Thank you for joining me in this conversation. Together, we are better. Please visit my website at hopefulist.com and remember to hit that subscribe or follow button.